Big government bullies are at it again, demonizing energy businesses for the high prices the government is creating. Now, these attacks may be angering, wasteful, and very harmful, but at least the government thugs give us something special. They give us opportunities to return to economics and civics classes and to remember who actually wields the aggressive power here. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV, and here's the story. As Matthew Daly reports for the Associated Press, Senator Chuck Schumer, the Democrat of New York, and 22 of his Democrat Party allies, Thursday called for the Biden Department of Justice, wink wink, to use every tool, as they say, at their disposal to prosecute what they claim is collusion and price fixing by oil companies, which requires us to ask a basic question. What tools does the U.S. Constitution stipulate that the feds have to prosecute companies for so-called price fixing and collusion? Well, the answer is easy. The answer is zero. There aren't any such tools. The Schumers of this world pretend that the Constitution's Commerce Clause allows the feds to control trade that goes across state lines. But father of the Constitution, James Madison, in 1825, told friend J.C. Cabell that this was a misreading of the clause. It was written as a remedial measure, allowing Congress to handle state versus state trade disputes. But that fact isn't stopping Schumer and his pals from posturing and using their tax-funded positions to bluster about federal prosecution of people just trying to bring us oil and gas. Writes Daly, quote, in a letter Thursday to Attorney General Merrick Garland and other officials, the Democrats said a recent Federal Trade Commission investigation into a high-profile merger uncovered evidence of price fixing by oil executives that led to higher energy costs for American families and businesses. No, you're not hallucinating. And perhaps this kind of fatuous rhetoric gets you thinking about this in ways like I think about this. I think about the many reports MRC-TV has released covering the vast scope of not just the federal attacks on oil, coal, and gas exploration, refining, and even the mixture of fuel we put into our cars and our lawnmower engines. But I also think about the central government subsidizing so-called green projects, like dangerous and unworkable electric vehicle boondoggles. And perhaps, just perhaps, this kind of aggressive, Mussolini-like rhetoric inspires you too to remember who claims the legal power to take our money in order to fund their Senate salaries and fund this so-called Justice Department. Well, those facts sure put the terms costs and price fixing into proper perspective, don't they? According to Daly, the FTC, contrary to the real meaning of the Commerce Clause, got involved in the approval process when ExxonMobil offered to buy a company called Pioneer Natural Resources. The FTC claimed that Pioneer colluded with OPEC and OPEC Plus to potentially raise crude oil prices. And of course, though they allowed Exxon and Pioneer to close the deal, the FTC employed rhetoric that this alleged Pioneer collusion with OPEC, as they say, may have cost the average American household up to $500 per car and increased annual fuel costs. Now that has inspired Schumer and his 22 pals to claim, get this, that this alleged source of higher energy prices, the oil companies, well, they're saying that it's an unwelcome tax that is particularly burdensome for lower income families. That's a quote. Seriously, Schumer and many of the same leftist politicians who have ballooned government spending which requires borrowing that the Federal Reserve funds through purchase of U.S. bonds. The Fed creates money to do that, and that inflation of the money supply destroys the buying power of everyone's income. Schumer and his pals have also shredded Trump's decrease of corporate income taxes from 35% to 21%. Those guys slid a new corporate alternative income tax into their insultingly titled 2022 Inflation Reduction Act. And in the 2025 budget, they've pushed another increase of corporate taxes to 28%. And they're pushing higher personal income taxes that, as the Tax Foundation reports, will see taxes eat an estimated $5.3 trillion of our income between 2024 and 2034. The increase in the corporate tax rate and the additional taxes on top earners would result in U.S. top marginal tax rates on income that are among the highest in the developed world. They sure care about our bottom lines, don't they? Heck, they care so much, they want to see the unconstitutional 19th century Sherman Antitrust Act shot at the entire oil industry. Offering this in the letter from Schumer and the 22 miscreants with whom he has so much fun in the Senate. Quote, corporate malfeasance must be confronted or it will proliferate. These alleged offenses do not simply enrich corporations. Hardworking Americans end up paying the price through higher costs for gas, fuel, and related consumer products. The DOJ must protect consumers, small businesses, and the public from petroleum market collusion, which lets us conclude by returning to class. This time, not civics, but economics. And of course, it lets us see what entity holds the power of coercion over us. In a free market, businesses, even corporate entities, have to compete. Thus, even those that might try to collude, as they say, with each other to raise prices, can't raise prices beyond what consumers will accept, because an increase in prices tells potential competitors that there is money to be made in that field, and they will enter the market, thus increasing competition and pushing costs down with an increasing supply of the good or service. The only way businesses can claim monopoly power without having to worry about competition is if they can block new entrants. And the only way they can block new entrants is through, you got it, the power of politics, getting government, or the state in its normative terminology, to pass statutes that give the established businesses sole control or a cartelized form of control over the market. This is the lesson seen over and over in the history of economics, competition, and monopoly. The Schumers of the state, the big pushers of government power, are using their tax and spend superpowers of coercion, and they are making our lives worse. They're hurting our living standards with their monopoly claim of power over us. And now they want to use their so-called power, which doesn't even conform to the Constitution, to prosecute businesses that also are at the mercy of their egotistical, arbitrary, immoral whim. The only good thing that comes from their letter to Merrick Garland is the opportunity it affords us to learn which group claims the power to make others do things. It's not the oil companies. It's not your local gas station owner. It's not your home heating oil seller. It's the U.S. government, operating in a way that Madison viewed as utterly inimical to the very Constitution he helped fashion. We can keep that in mind as we hear more and see more of their poison and their posing, their posturing, and their vile claims that they're helping us, even as they point the government guns at us and at business people, simply trying to increase the supply of what we want in the market. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hey, please like and subscribe. Follow us. That's the term they use on Rumble. Follow us on Rumble where they don't censor us. We're still on YouTube, of course, where sometimes they do censor us. And find us on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, and of course, the MRCTV.org website. Please open up a tab while you have the opportunity. Check out what the whole team is doing there. And when you get the opportunity, please consider donating to the Media Research Center and check out the MRC-TV store to see all the great items that are there. You can also find us on X, and on X, I'm at Gard Goldsmith, and on Gab, I'm at Gardner Goldsmith. So I'll see you there. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.
I want to invite you as my guest on a very special, once-in-a-lifetime, 7-day post-election cruise in the Caribbean. It's going to be a blast.